How's it going, everybody? Noah here with Madison Angling. I'm out fishing with my buddy Al this morning. I have a day off, which is kind of rare for me, especially in July, but I'm out doing one of my absolute favorite things to do, and no, it's not salmon fishing. And if you couldn't guess where we are today, if you're from the Madison area, we're on Lake Monona. I grew up 3 blocks away from this lake, and my very first memory of fishing in Wisconsin, I was here with my sister, my mom, and my dad, and we were walking along the boardwalk over here, if you will, kind of the path along the lake here, and which, by the way, is a great spot to fish. And this guy was fishing right off the side of the wall here, and he was absolutely railing big bluegills. And it was really, I mean, as a kid, obviously, it's like, whoa, this dude's catching them. And he was using a really light rod with a spring bobber on the tip. I remember him dropping it down, and he looked at me and said, "Count to 3." And by 2, boom, he had like a 9-inch bluegill. It was the coolest thing ever. And obviously finding out that that was this close to where I was growing up, where I just moved to Wisconsin, was like the coolest thing ever. So that is where fishing started for me, and probably where it started for a lot of people, is bluegills. And I am 32 years old. Al is like 58 years old. And we're out here just having an absolute blast catching big bluegills. So I want to show you guys the go-to rig for these summertime bluegills, especially here in deep water. This will work just about anywhere you go, but all growing up, I've constantly heard of this rig referred to as the Monona Rig. I know there's other names for it. It is not exclusive to Lake Monona, but I want to show you guys how to rig this thing up and come out here and absolutely smash some big bluegills this summer. As far as the rod and reel goes, use whatever you want. If you're into the ultralight thing, do the ultralight thing. If you like the medium light thing, do the medium light thing. I like rods I can do tons of different stuff with, so we are using our Fox River FRH Series 7.3 medium lights, same ones we use for hair jigs, 3-ways in the spring for walleyes, drop shots all summer long. They work great for these big bluegills too. And you ready? This is it, guys. This is the Monona Rig. It doesn't get much more simple than that. We have a 1/16 or an 1/8 ounce egg sinker to a swivel. Our main line is mono. We got 8-pound mono on here, down to our leader, which is about 15 to 18 inches of 12-pound either Co-Polymer line, which is a fluorocarbon coated monofilament, or a 10 to 12-pound fluorocarbon. And I know we're bluegill fishing, but I'll explain why we're doing that here in a minute. And on the business end, you can use whatever you like, but the go-to is a 32nd ounce jig, and I've got a Willy Worm on here. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So if you like to do the live bait thing, you can 100% do that. Red worms, spikes, wax worms, piece of night crawler, whatever you want to do. Do you have to use a jig head? No, but it seems to work really well with this rig. So the basic idea here is we're dropping down a panfish jig, right? And we're fishing deeper water, anywhere from 12 to 20, 25 feet down in some cases. So getting that little bitty jig down there is going to take a long time if you're just going to drop it down. So instead, having that egg sinker and that swivel kind of helps get this thing down a little bit quicker, keeps you at depth a little bit easier, especially on a bumpy day. And it's just a pretty foolproof system here. Could you use a split shot? Yes, but as long as you're using that swivel, that's really the key. Now, why are we using such a heavy leader? I know that sounds weird because we're pan fishing. Do you have to? No, but you're gonna find yourself breaking off and having to retie pretty often. So come on in here real close, Al. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a tiny little overhand knot in this leader, and this is a brand new leader. How did that knot get there? I have no idea, but these leaders get all knotted up, and it's probably because as this jig is falling and it's trailing behind that weight as it falls, it's twisting and turning and it gets a lot of little overhand knots in the line. Over time, that's gonna weaken your leader, especially if you're using a straight monofilament leader. Mono likes to cut itself, especially on an overhand knot like that. So having a heavier fluorocarbon or copolymer leader, something like this P-line, this Fluoro Clear, this stuff works great. It's a copolymer line. It works awesome for that. So it's going to buy you more time with your leader. Eventually it's going to break, but just keep an eye on it. When you get a whole bunch of little knots in it, then it's time to just cut the line, retie, and redeploy. It's not that hard. So I'm gonna show you guys how to set one of these up. It's super simple, but there's a couple little things that make a huge difference in this thing being extremely effective or just kind of okay. All right, we're gonna start on the business end here. So we're using a 32nd ounce jig head, and just so we can see it a little easier, you're so cool, man. So cool. So just so it's a little easier to see, I'm gonna use this chartreuse jig head. I also really like purple and black. Does it have to have a gold hook? No, but I grabbed these at DNS. They're right on the front counter. These things are awesome, these little 32nd ounce jig heads. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice here, I'm gonna put this right up to my hand. If you notice, the hook point is right in line, basically parallel with the shank of the hook. And this is a tiny itty bitty little hook. So one thing that I do here, and I do this on all my ice fishing jigs too, is I'll grab the hook by the bend here, and I'm gonna open it up just a tiny little bit. So you can see now we have a little bit of an angle to that hook. With that wider hook gap, you're increasing your hooking percentage pretty drastically, and you're increasing the power of the lever of the hook point there. We just increased the angle. We now have more leverage, so you're gonna get a much better hooking percentage. This works great on ice jigs too. So there's step number one. Number two is our line. So I'm gonna use this 12-pound Fluoro Clear. If you want, you can tie a little loop knot, like a little Rapala knot, so that way your jig is always hanging perfectly perpendicular to the rest of your gear here. I don't care that much, and apparently can't get a hook or get my line through the hook eye here. There we go. So tie whatever knot you want though. I'm just gonna do a basic clinch knot because I don't really care. The way the fish eat these things, they pretty much just inhale it. So I'm not super worried about the knot, but if you wanna get real technical, a loop knot works really nice.
We're using 12-pound test.
We're also using 12 pounds. So are these fish super spooky? No. So there we go. Got our clinch knot. Then we want about 15 to 18 inches of our 12-pound line here. You could go a little heavier if you wanted. You could go a little lighter. Onto our swivel, another clinch knot, nothing special, or your fisherman's knot, if you will. 5 or 6 twists back through the bottom. Get it wet, tighten it down. There we go. That's it, guys. Done. That's it. Super simple. And if you really wanted to, when I used to do a ton of this, I had pool noodles with these wrapped around them. So I had multiple rigs ready to go. So when they do get all knotted up or somebody breaks off on a pike or a muskie or something, which by the way, these work great for pike and muskies. You'd be amazed at how many fish you catch on these by accident. But I have these ready to go wrapped up on a pool noodle. So if we broke off or something, or it's just time to swap them, cut the leader off, tie a new one on, ready to rip, drop it right back down and keep catching them. So the million-dollar question always is, what do you put on the end of this thing? So I'm a big fan of artificials. I'm a big fan of plastics, and sometimes live bait is the way to go too. So today we caught fish on everything. We were catching them on these guys. These are gulp angle worms. I'll pull one of these out here so you guys can see what these look like. I always have at least 10 jars of this on my boat. There's a few different colors, but that's pretty much it. It's just like almost like a little red worm. These things are killer. You can get them in red, you can get them in this kind of natural sort of earthworm color. I always have at least, like I said, 10 jars of these on board. Absolutely killer bait. It works all the time, just about anywhere. The next one would be live bait. You can put a little piece of crawler on there, a red worm. That's pretty self-explanatory. But option number 3, and this is an OG Madison staple. Come on in here, Al. The Willy Worm. You can only get these at DNS here in Madison. You can only get them at DNS. I'm not kidding. This is like the OG when I was growing up as a kid, 5 cents a piece. You bought a couple Willy Worms and you went fishing and you caught the hell out of fish. Super simple. It's about what, 1.5 inches long, if that, 1.25 inches long, little worm. Lots of different colors. The only color you guys need is red. I don't know what it is about this red Willy Worm, but they absolutely catch fish. And rigging them could not be more simple. Literally just thread it right onto your jig and you're done. And a little tiny dab of super glue between the plastic and the jig head there is worth every penny as far as holding that thing on there. Now, if you want to get even a little bit fancier here, and I did this today because we have kind of crappy conditions. It's super hot, high pressure, very stagnant. You want to get a little more action on your Willy Worm, trim it. All you do is take a pair of scissors. We're going to cut the worm right down the middle, just like that. Now, if you really wanted to, you could just leave those 2 little flappy dudes on there. I like to cut one off. So basically, I'm thinning down the tail end of the worm by about half. Thinner rubber, more action, and you don't have to impart as much action on the rod to get that thing to move in the water. And then as far as using these go, if you're not using electronics, drop it down to the bottom, come up 2 or 3 cranks, and just hold it there. You can jig it if you want to. We're gonna cheat today using the live scope, I know, but it's a heck of a lot of fun doing it with live scope because you can see the fish come in, react to what the fish are doing, and catch them. Otherwise, you can even drift out in the middle of the lake. When these fish suspend out in open water, you can just go out into 20, 30 feet, set those things about 10, 15 feet down or so, set them right on the side of the boat and just drift and wait for that rod tip to bounce. It works phenomenally well. And essentially what we just made is a slip bobber rig without a slip bobber, more or less. Now, obviously this is for panfish, but we catch all kinds of stuff. We catch walleye, we catch bass, occasionally we get pike, muskies, you name it. I got sweat going into my eyeball because it's freaking hot out.
You're spun enough you can hardly see your face. So
well, that's good.
we're in good shape.
Nobody wants that. But that's it, guys. And like I said, I've got these rigged up on my 7.3 medium lights, which is a little heavy for panfish. But when you're playing with 8, 9, 10 plus inch panfish, especially these big bluegills we have here in Madison, a little extra beef is not a bad thing to have. And if you want to get really creative with it, use an ice rod. That's a heck of a lot of fun. Using a little noodle rod over the side of the boat, really a lot of fun. So if you have kids, you want to get them into fishing, especially something that's going to catch a lot of fish and all kinds of fish, the Monona Rig is the move. So with that, that's enough talking. Let's go catch a few fish and have a little bit of fun.
Did you hear
Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. They're fighting over it. Got him.
I wasn't trying to screw you up.
Oh no, get down there. There's a couple more of them. See, that doesn't suck. That does not suck. That is like the perfect eating size, you know, 7.5, almost 8 incher. Just silly. Don't even need live bait. Oh, there's a couple more.
I like those little angle worms.
The angle worm is the only piece of gulp you need. You can catch literally anything on these. There he is. There you go.
Probably a state record.
I got one on me.
Because you missed him. Oh, this is a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Ah,
hey, there's the double.
there he is. I was gonna say there's a bunch of them swimming through right now. Oh yeah, dude, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. That is
a good one.
that is just straight up fun. Like, I don't care who you are, how old you are, how long you've been fishing, what you fish for. That's just straight up cool.
Yeah. Put them together, you got a pretty good bass.
Yeah. Yep, there he is.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh, dang, dude, that's a good one.
See him doing circles on the graph? That's a nice one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, that's a fatty.
Dude, that's gonna work. Sweet.
You can 100% tell the second you set that hook.
Oh yeah, you know
When
it's a
they're
big
like a
one.
dinner plate, they can spin like that.
It's just fun.
Yeah, especially in their tanks.
Just beautiful.
And they obviously get bigger, but that's a great fish.
Oh, it's a perfect fish. If you're gonna keep them, that is the perfect bluegill.
Yeah.
The perfect bluegill to keep. But not today. No microplastics for us. That's Gilly.
Think that's him?
That's Gil. yeah, that's him.
Yeah, dude, that is stud. What is that thing?
I bet you it's close to 9. I don't know. Let's find out. Probably not, actually. I think this is 8. This is going to be an 8, but it's such a beefy
So
8.
fat.
You're about to
Yeah.
catch one. I know. 8 and just over 8.5. Goodbye. That was big. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Ready? Watch this. Oh. Just silly. You're more than welcome.
I might need a worm.
Look at you. I mean, dude. I've said dude so many times. I have to stop saying dude so much. My kid's first word's gonna be dude.
Probably.
Yep. Later. Oh,
sounds kinda like
nice.
So,
Just absolutely pooping on me. We're done fishing. It's super stinking hot out. It was kind of like, are we going golfing today or are we going fishing today? I think it's too hot to go golfing, and now it's too hot to go fishing. So we're done. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys found this at least a little bit fun, right? And if you've never used that rig before, please give it a try, especially if you're into the panfish thing. Bluegills, crappies, perch, you name it. It works for all of them. It's probably my #1 panfish rig of all time. So with that, guys, if you're looking for Willy Worms, head over to DNS. They are the only place that has them. They have everything you need, from the leader material, the swivels, those little jig heads, everything's right there in house. In fact, it's all sitting right on the front counter. If you're not sure what color to get all of them because they're super cheap, and buy a bunch of them because you're gonna use them. So with that, guys, hopefully you guys had fun. We had fun. I had fun.
I'm a 5-year-old again. Best.
It's seriously such a blast. It doesn't matter how old you are and how much fishing experience you have. These big panfish, especially in deep water, are just so much fun. So with that, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.